Okay, so welcome to the video. New year, new possibilities. And first, sorry for the clickbaity name and thumbnail, and especially since this channel so far mostly has focused on fitness and dieting. But I feel that even if you have the best body and cook the best and most healthy food in the world, if your finances are not fit or in shape, I think you probably won't live, the best life you can, which is what I want this channel to focus on. And there are so many topics I'd like to cover, but one video will be way too long for all of that. So I'll save the details for later and try to keep this one a bit short while showing you some of my drone footage and other videos here from Hong Kong in the background. So what does wealthy even mean? Is it like living next to the ocean on the beach? Well, that's up for you to decide. And even if wealth is important in the first place, I don't think wealth necessarily have to be financial or monetary. It can be, in terms of experiences, relationships with friends and family, and many other things. But I think it doesn't hurt to have a bit of a more stable financial foundation in life in general. So that's why I want to bring this up. So, secondly, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme or how to create your own, startup or e-commerce business or selling a course or anything like that. What I'm going to talk about here is how anyone can adopt a habit of investing and saving yourself to wealth and richness over time. So if you're in your teens and your 20s, and I really hope this can be valuable for you guys, because I did not know about this at all, unfortunately, back then. So now I'm in my 30s and I wish I learned this earlier, but unfortunately, no one in my school told me about this. So hope at least I can share these lessons with you now instead, so that you have a brighter future ahead of you. And no, I'm not a millionaire or anything like that, so why should you listen to me? Well, I don't know, but at least I've been adopting some of these habits the past years, and I've seen some quite good results. So who knows what the future will hold, but at least looking into this, I think maybe you can get some learnings from this, and don't do some of the mistakes that I did. So in short, I started 4 years ago to start prioritizing my finances, and it's been very fruitful so far, with a 32% return, and that's less than the overall market, but it's also been less volatile investments. But I'll save all of that sort of discussion for another video in the future on what's best to invest in and so on. So what I do every month is I take a part of my salary and I immediately transfer that to a brokerage account that I can't withdraw from, and then I invest that money in the stock market. And if you're new to this, maybe that sounds a bit scary, but I'm just gonna show you a few pictures that maybe will get you some inspiration, at least make you less scared to try this. So this is a graph showing the S&P 500, Standard & Poor's 500, past 40 years return from January 1981 to January 2021. And S&P 500 is an index of weighted the 500 largest companies in the US. So most people work 30 to 40 years. And if imagine this is someone who is 25 and maybe has worked a few years and now can set aside a small amount every month, this could be a good thing to look at. So what you see here is the value of S&P 500 index in January 1981 at $135, and today it's the 10th of January 2021. It was worth $3,825 US. So if you divide 3,825 by 135, we get 28x. So that means if you invested $1 in 1981 and did nothing, you would have today $28. So if you calculate the average return on this, that's actually 8.7% per year. So maybe that doesn't seem like much. Even if you had $100 and invested, you basically have $109 after a year at around 9% interest. But let's say you invested $100 US per month for 40 years. That would be 100 times 12 month per year times 40 years. So that's $48,000 if you kept it in a savings account. Now, that's likely not going to be enough, to help you through retirement, at least if not live in the US or a country like that. But the magic happens if you apply compounding interest to this. So basically, interest that keeps on earning more interest on the same amount every year, growing over time. So if we invest every month for 40 years, $100 US, instead of getting $48,000, we now have $428,000. That's 9 times more than if you didn't invest the money. So which person would you want to be? Someone with $41,000 in the bank account or $428,000? At least for me, the answer is pretty easy. So across 40 years, you could be lucky to get almost 10 times more money back when you retire compared to if you just saved it with zero interest. Now, this doesn't take into account inflation, and there's always risks involved with investing, but investing in the stock market has been proven to hedge against inflation, so it likely doesn't really affect the thesis on that. It's more about your risk tolerance and so on. But for me, I started at age 29, and now 4 years later I've gotten a return of 32%, as I said, which is 7% on average, so a bit lower than S&P 500. And that is despite a crash in the end of 2018 and of course the big pandemic in 2020. So I understand that not all can start early and investing big amounts. So let's just just assume $200 per month as an example for 30 years at 7%. Now that would be $244,000 compared to $72,000 without an interest. So time is the real friend here, because for every year you add more and the difference growth versus if you don't invest it. And that's why you see people like Warren Buffett adding the most of their wealth towards the end of their sort of investing career. And just to show the example here, if you have 30 years investing versus 31 years or 35 because you started 1 year or 5 years later, you see how big difference that small year makes in the end. So a good rule to just remember is that at 7% interest you double your money every 10 years, and if you would have 10% per year, you would double your money in 7 years. So depending on how much risk or volatility and swings in prices you can tolerate, you can decide if you want safer assets like government or corporate bonds, and I put an example here with 4% interest for example, or more risky assets like equities, basically stocks. So this is really powerful to play around with, and after just 4 years, like me, you see returns. So I highly suggest that you set up like a 5-year investment plan now that it's beginning of 2021. So if this made you inspired to learn more, let me know, give it a like. And if you have questions, write in the comment section and maybe I can make a future video on it. Otherwise, good luck with investing, subscribe, and see you in the next video.